Welcome back to our channel. Today, we bring you another story that Vladimir Putin never wanted the world to hear. A story that reveals not just cracks in Russia's naval power, but deep humiliation on the global stage. In the icy waters near NATO's watchful presence, one of Russia's submarines, once paraded as a symbol of military might, has broken down. Not in the secrecy of Russian territory, but under the very nose of NATO. And the world is watching. This isn't just a mechanical failure, it's a political disaster. A public embarrassment, and another blow to Putin's already faltering image of strength. So, how did Russia's naval pride end up stranded and exposed? And what does this mean for the balance of power in the world's oceans? Stay with us as we dive deep into the story of Putin's submarine humiliation. For decades, Russia has invested heavily in submarine warfare. From Cold War-era ballistic missile subs to modern nuclear-powered giants, the Kremlin has long boasted that its silent killers beneath the waves could match, even outmatch, NATO's fleets. But reality has been less impressive. Behind the propaganda, Russia's Navy has struggled with outdated equipment, chronic underfunding, and a growing inability to maintain its once feared arsenal. And now, in 2025, one failure has exposed just how fragile that image really is. According to reports, during what should have been a routine patrol, a Russian submarine suffered a catastrophic technical failure. Instead of slipping silently through international waters, it was left floating, powerless, as NATO reconnaissance closed in. For Putin, the timing couldn't be worse. The breakdown. Witnesses and intelligence leaks suggest the submarine began experiencing problems with its propulsion system, the very heart of its stealth capabilities. Within hours, the vessel was unable to submerge, forced to surface, and stranded in one of the most sensitive maritime zones in the world. NATO ships and aircraft quickly took notice. Surveillance imagery captured the embarrassing scene. A so-called ghost of the Russian Navy, stuck, vulnerable, and exposed for all the world to see. For a leader who built his power on the illusion of invincibility, the symbolism was devastating. Russia's submarine fleet, myth versus reality. To understand why this submarine breakdown is so humiliating, we need to look at Russia's naval history and the myth Putin has carefully built around it. For years, Moscow's state media has portrayed Russian submarines as unstoppable hunters beneath the waves. Silent, powerful, capable of striking anywhere at any time. These submarines are often paraded in propaganda videos, shown launching missiles or disappearing beneath icy waters, symbols of Russia's supposed dominance at sea. But behind the camera, the reality is very different. Many of Russia's submarines date back to the late Soviet era. They are relics of the 1980s and 1990s, patched up, refurbished, and kept alive through desperate maintenance. Spare parts are often scavenged. Crew members report poor living conditions, unreliable systems, and outdated technology. Western experts have warned for years. The Russian Navy looks strong in parades, but in practice, it is plagued by weakness. This latest breakdown proves the warnings were true. The incident in detail. Sources suggest that the submarine involved was one of Russia's so-called attack subs, designed to hunt NATO ships and protect Russian waters. But on this mission, instead of stealthily shadowing NATO vessels, it became the hunted. Technical logs leaked to intelligence analysts indicate that a coolant system failure triggered cascading problems inside the submarine's reactor compartment. Emergency protocols forced the crew to surface, immediately giving away their position. Imagine the humiliation. A submarine designed to vanish into the depths, forced to rise to the surface, crippled, in full view of NATO surveillance. Almost instantly, NATO reconnaissance planes swooped in. Satellites captured the scene. Warships shadowed the stranded vessel. The images soon circulated among intelligence communities and inevitably leaked to the media. For NATO, it was a moment of quiet triumph. For Putin, it was a nightmare. NATO's response. The breakdown didn't just expose a single submarine. It revealed to the world how fragile Russia's naval ambitions really are. NATO forces, rather than escalating, simply watched. They didn't need to fire a shot. By documenting the failure, they sent a clear message. Russia is not as strong as it claims. Military analysts have compared the event to a boxer bragging about his power, only to trip and fall in the ring before the fight even begins. For Moscow, the optics were catastrophic. Instead of inspiring fear, the submarine incident inspired laughter. Instead of proving strength, it exposed weakness. Global reactions. The news of the stranded submarine quickly spread beyond NATO circles. International media outlets seized the story, framing it as yet another humiliation for Putin's war machine. Headlines across Europe and North America pointed to the incident as proof of Russia's declining military capability. In capitals from London to Washington, analysts described the event as symbolic of Russia's broader failures, not just at sea, but across its entire military infrastructure. One commentator on a major U.S. network called it a floating metaphor for Putin's crumbling empire. Even in Asia, where Russia has tried to court allies, the incident raised eyebrows. Nations that once looked to Moscow for military partnerships began questioning the reliability of Russian equipment. For countries considering arms deals with Russia, the image of a broken-down submarine was more damaging than any diplomatic statement. Section 7. The propaganda spin. Inside Russia, however, the story was very different. Kremlin-controlled media rushed to control the narrative. State broadcasters avoided using the word breakdown and instead referred to the event as a planned maintenance maneuver. Commentators were instructed to portray the submarine's surfacing as a tactical decision, claiming it was part of a training exercise near NATO waters. Any suggestion of failure was dismissed as Western lies. But in the age of satellite images and global intelligence sharing, the spin fell flat. Russians on social media began mocking the official line, sharing memes comparing the stranded submarine to Putin's failing war strategy. The more the Kremlin tried to hide the truth, the more obvious the humiliation became. End. What it means for Putin. For Putin personally, the submarine incident struck at the heart of his carefully cultivated image. Since the beginning of his rule, he has cast himself as the strongman defender of Russia, the leader who restored military pride after the collapse of the Soviet Union. But every breakdown, every exposed weakness chips away at that myth. The submarine failure was not just a technical glitch. It was a reminder that behind the pageantry, Russia's military power is fragile, overstretched, and increasingly outdated. For a man obsessed with projecting strength, there are few things more humiliating than being laughed at by the very enemies he sought to intimidate.
Expert analysis. Military analysts wasted no time dissecting the submarine failure. To them, the incident wasn't just an accident, It was a symptom of systemic decay inside Russia's navy. Experts pointed to years of corruption, where funds intended for modernization were siphoned away into private pockets. They highlighted the brain drain of skilled engineers, many of whom left Russia for better opportunities abroad. They noted the overextension of resources, as Moscow poured billions into the war in Ukraine while neglecting naval upkeep. One retired admiral described it bluntly: Russia is trying to look like a global superpower on a regional power's budget. The cracks are showing, and this submarine is proof. NATO's advantage at sea. While Russia struggles to keep its subs afloat, NATO has steadily advanced its undersea dominance. American Virginia-class submarines, British Astute-class hunters, and France's Barracuda-class subs are among the most advanced in the world. These vessels feature cutting-edge sonar, stealth technology, and unmatched endurance. In exercises, NATO submarines have repeatedly demonstrated their ability to detect and track Russian vessels. The humiliation of this recent breakdown only reinforces NATO's confidence that beneath the waves, the alliance holds the upper hand. Beyond the technical superiority, NATO's advantage also lies in cooperation. Shared intelligence, joint training, and unified strategy ensure that even if one nation's submarine detects a threat, the entire alliance benefits. Russia, by contrast, is isolated, forced to rely on outdated hardware and overstretched crews. The symbolism of failure. For ordinary Russians, the submarine incident has become another painful reminder of broken promises. Putin told his people they were feared around the world. Instead, their military is mocked. He promised strength and prestige. Instead, they see rusting ships, stranded subs, and soldiers bogged down in endless conflict. And for the international community, the symbolism is impossible to ignore. A regime obsessed with power, exposed by its own weakness.